In a recent interview, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who has a new book out, said we are not in a constitutional crisis, adding, quote, I think our country remains committed to the rule of law. So nothing to worry about here. Here's the thing. Lower court federal judges across the ideological and political spectrum, appointed by presidents of both parties, have been pretty committed to the rule of law these last 9 months. In case after case, they've been telling the Trump administration, no, you can't do that. It's illegal. And then, time after time after time, the Supreme Court has been blocking those rulings, telling Trump, yeah, you can. No explanation given, just to kind of go ahead. Perhaps the most shocking example is their ruling yesterday that allows masked ICE agents in California to arrest people solely on the basis of whether they, and I'm quoting Justice Kavanaugh's words here, work or appear to work in jobs such as construction, landscaping, agriculture, or car washes, and do not speak much, if any, English. Sherrilyn Ifill writes that the decision, quote, is a watermark in the dissolution of what we had come to believe we had a right to expect as citizens in a democracy. Joining me now is Sherrilyn Ifill. She's founding director of the 14th Amendment Center for Law and Democracy at Howard University, was previously president and director of the council of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. It's always great to have you, Sherrilyn. I want to just start at sort of this level that we've seen district judges with challenges, whether statutory or constitutional, before them. Whether it's cutting off funding or it's deportations or it's show me your paper searches based on race, saying, no, this violates the law and the Constitution, you can't do it. And again, Trump appointees, Reagan appointees, Obama, and then the Supreme Court time and time and time again, often with no justification saying, we're going to let it go. What is this doing right now to the law in this country?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Chris. It is, first of all, demoralizing district courts across the country. These are federal trial court judges. You described what they do and the way in which they are trying to make decisions that are consistent with the rule of law. But they are also doing that after they have taken in evidence and facts and have had an opportunity to read the claims of the parties and to read declarations that are submitted by members of either the plaintiff or the defendant class. They're not just doing this in a vacuum. And what we are seeing from the Supreme Court is a consistent decision to simply swipe away the judgment of district court judges, and as you say, do it without explanation, and increasingly do it with remarks that are actually hostile to what federal district court judges do. And as you point out, these district court judges are appointed by both Republican and Democratic presidents.
This was what happened yesterday with this unsigned decision. 3 justices objecting, including Sotomayor, who writes, we should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job. Rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost, I dissent. Now, the 5 of the justices in the majority did not deign to offer a rationale, but I want to get your reaction to what Justice Kavanaugh said about these questionings we've caught on tape. The government sometimes makes brief investigative stops to check the immigration status of people. If the officers learn the individual they stopped is a U.S. citizen or otherwise lawfully in the United States, they promptly let the individual go. You think that's a factually accurate characterization of what's been happening?
It is not. It is not. It sounds like something that was, I said, downloaded from a DHS website. There is plenty of testimony in this case in declarations of individuals who describe the environment. And of course, we've seen it with our own eyes. Let's just set the table here, Chris. This suit is brought by United States citizens who are Latino or who work in those environments that Justice Kavanaugh has identified that DHS has targeted. So these are United States citizens who are describing their fear, of being taken into custody. And we have all seen with our own eyes what these ICE raids look like. There is not a gentle inquiry. He says that if it is determined that they are a U.S. citizen, the ICE officer promptly releases the individual. We have seen cases in which the colleagues of individuals who have been grabbed by ICE are telling ICE this person is here legally or this person is a U.S. citizen. And we have seen U.S. citizens detained in ICE custody for up to 3 months. So we understand that what he is saying is some sanitized, fantastical version of what these stops look like. And it's so shocking because, of course, we're watching these raids happen on television. We're seeing it online. We're seeing what they look like. And we basically have a Supreme Court justice who's offering this fantasy that we are all supposed to go along with because the Supreme Court is the 800-pound gorilla, and who's going to check them? But it is really shocking. We just had the situation this past weekend of the raid on the EV battery plant in Georgia, where South Korean nationals who were here legally, engineers, were taken into ICE custody, shackled about their waist, their legs, handcuffed and taken into ICE custody. Did that sound like a brief moment and an inquiry as to whether they were here legally and then a prompt release? No, the South Korean government had to negotiate their release with the United States. So this is a justice who's describing something that patently is not true and is contrary to the evidence and contrary to the evidence that was pulled in and evaluated by the district court. And then he says, let me tell you who the judiciary is. We're not allowed to put our finger on the scale for one policy or another. It's a gaslighting that I find so appalling. And for Amy Coney Barrett to say we're not in a constitutional crisis means that she is essentially calling her three colleagues, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Sotomayor, and Justice Kagan, all of whom have described the critical constitutional consequences of the way this conservative majority is behaving as rising to the level of constitutional dimension. They are profoundly concerned about our democracy. So even to dismiss it in the way she did in her book talk is disrespectful of her colleagues. There's something really unfortunate, frightening, scary going on the Supreme Court right now. And part of what they are doing is trying to pretend that we are not seeing what we are seeing. Unfortunately, we have three justices who know them, who sit in those rooms with them, who are prepared to tell us what is going on.
Yeah, that's well said. We are seeing what we are seeing, no matter what people try to tell us. Sherrilyn Ifill, thank you very much.